Welcome back to part 2 of this video series on how self-hate begins. We saw that anyone who has ever mistreated you was probably expressing how much self-hate they had. If you have ever felt jealous, anxious, shy, or more important than other people, these are likely small signs of self-hate. We will see why it's useless for us to hate those who have hurt us, or why it is useless to blame or hate ourselves for any reason, because there are much bigger issues in the background. Amateurs blame other people. Students on the path of enlightenment blame themselves, but the wise men blame no one. In part 1, we saw that it first starts in childhood when the people around us push their self-hate onto us. Due to that lack of love, we become unconsciously anxious and scared. That fear takes away our confidence, and then we develop needs to make us feel better. One need is to rise above other people so that we can feel better than them. We then create an ideal image in our head that would be loved, adored, and is perfect. We then go on a journey called the search of glory to become this ideal image, and as we try to become this ideal image, we push away our real selves. We develop vengeful triumph where we want to succeed so that we can use our success to humiliate other people. This is a form of revenge for what happened to us in childhood. We then develop an unhealthy neurotic ambition to achieve our goal of becoming this ideal self. We will now look at how do we know if our ambition is good or bad, and how does this ambition cause self-hate even though our outside lives may scream success. We will then end by seeing how becoming this ideal image makes us suffer in life. If you've enjoyed the video so far, consider joining me on my goal of 100 subscribers by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons. You should also comment what you like about the video below. How do we know if the ambition someone has is healthy and neurotic? There are generally two signs of these neurotic ambitious traits: their compulsive nature and their imaginative character. They are compulsive because a person must abide by them regardless of his real wishes, feelings, or interests, so that this person does not suffer from anxiety or feel torn by conflicts, to be overwhelmed by guilty feelings, or to feel rejected by other people. A healthy person is spontaneous. A healthy person feels like I want, while the compulsive neurotic person feels like I must do this in order to avoid some danger. But then we have one major problem. The neurotic normally is unaware of the difference between wanting and being driven. This person may actually consciously feel that his ambition or his standards of perfection is what he genuinely wants to attain, but is actually driven to attain it. So we must make the difference even more clear. The most decisive one is the fact that he is driven to the road of glory with an absolute disregard for himself and his best interests. This is where the tragic situation begins. So we may be a doctor, the person volunteering the most, the person helping the most people, or working the hardest at work. This is great stuff, but then the harder the work, the better we get on our search for glory. The better we will get, the more we will suffer. The problem is that if we sacrifice ourselves for a cause which we and most healthy people can realistically find constructive to the human life, then we are doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. And in this way, we are actually going to remain enslaved on this search for glory. Another decisive factor for the compulsiveness is the aimlessness. This person is not interested in what he actually wants to do. What matters is that he must be the center of attention, he must be the most attractive, the most intelligent, he must win every argument, regardless of where the truth lies. He is indifferent to truth about himself, others, or facts. Another quality is that the person cannot be satisfied. Even when he succeeds, he must find reasons for fear or sadness. He will always relentlessly chase after more prestige, more money, more women, more victories and conquests. Another sign is how the person reacts to frustrations. The more intense the drive, the more intense his frustration is going to be at failure. When a person fails at something, there frequently is panic, depression, despair, rage at himself and other people. His behavior is entirely out of proportion to the actual importance of the occasion. Now we move on to the imagination. The second characteristic is how the imagination helps this person lie to themselves. Imagination is used by healthy people in things like empathy, wishes, hope, fear, belief, and pain. Imagination can be productive or unproductive, but in the neurotic person, this imagination plays a much bigger role. It is put in service of these neurotic needs. The role imagination plays in the search for glory may show unmistakably and directly in daydreams. There is, for instance, the college boy who, although timid and withdrawn, has daydreams of being the greatest athlete or genius. But daydreams are not the most harmful work of imagination, for the person knows that they are dreaming. The most harmful work comes when there is a distortion of reality. Once the idealized self is created, it needs constant attention. So the person must fake his reality. He must turn his needs into virtues or into more justified expectations. What I mean here is that the person whose intentions are to be honest or considerate change into the fact that he's actually honest or considerate, even though he has not done anything honestly. The bright ideas this person might have for a paper make him a great scholar. His potentials turn into factual achievements without him actually doing anything. Just knowing the right moral values makes him a virtuous person. Often he feels like a moral genius. And of course, his imagination must work overtime to reject all the disturbing evidence that his beliefs are all lies. All these drives for glory aim to have greater powers that are given to a normal human being, greater knowledge, wisdom, or virtue. They all aim at the unlimited power of a man, nothing short of absolute fearlessness, mastery, or saintliness. The person has unrealistic ambitions. He has no weaknesses. Nothing is impossible to him. His willpower should have magic proportions. His reasoning cannot have any mistakes. His foresight should be flawless. His knowledge all-encompassing. The neurotic is not satisfied with knowing a lot of things, but he must know everything. Normally, if a human wants to function well, he must have a vision of possibilities and finite perspective and realize his limitations. If a person's thinking and feeling are primarily focused on the infinite possibilities, he loses his sense for living in the moment. He can no longer submit to what may be his limit. I'm not saying that we should dream small, but this part is very important. He loses sight of what is necessary to achieve something. Neurotic people in the search of glory are not able to see that their imagination has impossible goals. Every neurotic hates to recognize a limitation to what he believes is possible to attain. His need to actualize his idealized image is so important that he must push away the checks of reality as irrelevant or non-existent. The person may also be horrified at anything that is definite, concrete, or final. He tends to hate time because time is definite. He hates money because it is concrete, death because of its finality. But he may also hate having a definite wish or opinion. The person tends to disregard evidence that his imagination is false. He forgets it. He says it doesn't count. Sometimes he says it was accidental, or it was on account of circumstances, or he'll say someone provoked him and he couldn't help it, because it was natural. He credits himself for favorable things, but then ignores the unfavorable. So how can we differentiate between neurotic ambitions and healthy human strivings? On the surface, they're so similar. It looks as if the neurotic person is merely more ambitious, more concerned with power, prestige, and success than the healthy person, although his moral standards are merely higher or more rigid than ordinary ones, as though he was simply more self-important or considered himself more important than people usually do. But who is going to draw the fine line? This is a hard question to answer. In human life, we don't have rigid limits to what we can make out of our life, to what qualities we can develop, or what we can create in life. It then seems predictable that man is unsure about his limitations and hence easily sets his goals either too high or too low. But this existing uncertainty is a base without which the search of glory could not possibly develop. The basic difference between healthy strivings and neurotic drives for glory lies in the forces prompting them. Healthy ambition comes from a natural tendency in humans to develop our given potentials. The search for glory comes from the need of a person to actually actualize the idealized self. Self-idealization is very compulsive. The neurotic person cannot recognize limitations, so this search of glory goes into the unlimited. The main goal is the attainment of glory, so he is not interested in the process of learning, of doing, or of gaining step by step. He actually tends to despise it. He doesn't want to climb the mountain, he wants to be on the peak. He isn't interested in the truth, because to reach self-idealization, he must ignore the truth. The difference then between healthy strivings and neurotic drives for glory is one between naturalness and compulsion, between recognizing and designing limitations, between a focus upon the vision of a glorified end product and a feeling for evolution, between seeming and being, between fantasy and truth. The relatively healthy person may not be wholeheartedly engaged in realizing his real self, and also the neurotic may not be wholly driven to actualize the idealized self. This is all a spectrum. So, going towards the idealized self is like making a pact with the devil. You have infinite glory, But this is inevitably also the way to an inner hell of self-hate and self-torment. By taking this road, we lose our souls, our real selves. In part 3, we will go further into this journey of neurosis. We will see how these unhealthy needs turn into unrealistic demands that we make on others and on the world. This causes people around to suffer, and most importantly, makes us suffer even more than them. Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. And also check out my other videos. Have a good day.